Have you ever driven through an older section of town where the buildings have seen better days, where there are scatterings of boarded up windows, peeling paint, storefronts featuring for lease and for sale signs, and only a few businesses trying to survive? Did you hear that little voice inside that said, something great can happen here? We did. Our project team includes Traci Pauley. Who are you now? Don Mueller, Cole Cannon, forget about me. I am Rachel Lewitt. We are thrilled to present the opportunity to secure a Smart Growth Grant to serve as a model for reshaping community blemishes. And we are going to allow you to follow us, if you don't mind, through a journey of an imaginary town called Mayberry as we initiate a Better Block project. So what is a Better Block? It is a process for cleaning up these community blemishes. It is a three-dimensional example of how we can dream, test, and build momentum for transforming an underutilized block into a walkable, sustainable, vibrant destination. It demonstrates the potential through temporary treatments such as pop-up shops and restaurants, streetscapes, bike lanes, and outdoor cafes. It is a non-traditional planning approach. It is people creating change through community development with a vision and design process. So what is our grant request? We seek a Smart Growth Grant Level 2 in the amount of $5,000. The Mayberry Better Block project supports several smart growth principles. It encourages community and stakeholder collaboration in development decisions. It strengthens and directs development towards existing communities. It fosters distinctive and attractive areas with a strong sense of place. It takes advantage of compact building design, creating a multimodal area where businesses can leverage customers and resources. Better Block projects stimulate both community and economic development. For example, in Binghamton, Tennessee, they had experienced a population decline of approximately 30%. This translated into a 10 to 15% vacancy rate. In a single weekend, they transformed a desolate avenue into a thriving commercial district. Over the next year, they saw $2.5 million in private investment. Over the next 3, $18 million. By the fourth year, the district was 95% occupied. These are impressive results.
There have been many successful Better Block projects completed around the world, in our country, and even a couple locally in Ohio. When planning our Better Block, we decided on a block party to share the idea with our community. Working 3 months before our scheduled event, we would have to define the project, figure out how to get it all done. We'd have a brainstorming session and a walking tour to get the community involved. In month 2, we would get our volunteers signed up, find and secure donors and partners, get the necessary permits, develop our plan, and promote and market our idea. In month 3, it's time to get to work. Continuing promotions, work on all the preparations, pre-building, logistical planning, and getting everything ready to execute.
So going into a Better Block, not only does it have huge financial implications, we also need the community buy-in to make this a success. So we will have community partners who will help us with volunteers as well as financially, as you'll see in the budget. A couple that I'll point out, I'm not going to go through the list. The Art and Design College, it would have a large building that would hopefully have a blank side to it. We'd like to have the Art College do a mural contest within their college to get buy-in from them and their students, and then the winner can have that mural painted on the side of the building. The architecture school, we also want them to redo the front of one of the buildings and have their design displayed at the community event for future investors to see. Local breweries, we're going to have a beer garden, so they'll be huge for buy-in. Business owners, they're going to be key because they already have an investment in this part of town coming back. So big borrow and build is going to be what we go through because we need a lot more money than you can spend through a grant. So they're going to help us with that as well.
Our first public event will be a community meeting with a keynote speaker from Team Better Block consulting firm. The purpose of the community meeting is to create credibility, buy-in, and excitement from our community partners.
A few days after the community tour, we'll have a walking tour and a brainstorming session. We're going to invite local community members, political figures, investors, neighbors, anyone, to walk the proposed block. Realtors will give hard hat tours, so everyone can see the different vacant spaces and see what those spaces could become. As soon as the walking tour is over, we'll meet in one of the vacant spaces for a brainstorming session. This is where questions can be asked, ideas bounced around, and concerns discussed. I'm sorry. This community meeting encourages community and stakeholder collaboration, which satisfies Principle 10. To reach as many community members as possible, we will prepare extensive marketing. There'll be flyers, YouTube videos, an extensive social media campaign, newspaper ads, and television commercials.
NAR will not consider a grant application without a line item budget attached. The Smart Growth Grant Level 2 maximum grant amount is $5,000 with a minimum contribution of 10% of the grant amount from our local association. Other sources of revenue will come from our non-realtor community partners and booth rentals from the day of the event. So our total revenue is $8,850 with an equal amount of expenditures. We've accounted for typical event expenses as well as a few that are specific to our Better Block, like the consultation fee from Team Build a Better Block consulting firm. And also we have a lab expense. The lab will be the central meeting place and workplace the day of the event. And also we have an expense for streetscapes. That allows us to purchase extra landscape items and building materials so we can build projects like seating areas and bike racks and bike path materials.
So going through the budget, that now brings us to the day of the event. This is what you would plan for, and this is actually a town in Ohio, up in Ashland, Tiffany. And so this is going to just serve as a plan for what they can use. So you would have live music down here at the end. It's going to be the anchor for the entire event. This is going to provide the liveliness throughout the event. You would have a kids alley because you want the entire family to come out. You don't just want adults. So we would have bounce houses, cotton candy, face painting, all sorts of things in this alley for them. Next, you'd have a farmer's market, which would want to go into one of the larger empty spaces for commercial. This would show that it can be used as a co-op space for market, or it could be used as a farmer's market, sort of like North Market in Columbus if you've been there. Next to that, we'd have an established cafe that's already been there in business. This is what I was referring to when you would think of the business owners that are already invested. They want this to succeed because they want to stay in business. Next, the rest of the vacant spaces, we're going to have pop-up shops, which would have temporary shops inside. Local designers can come in and rent those spots for much cheaper than they could normally. As well as a street cafe down here in the corner. An art gallery, we would also get the local community involved with these. They would have schools, the high school students, children can display their artwork there, and they could even sell it if they wanted to. And then the colleges could display their artwork to have a community there. A beer garden to have the younger clientele come in and enjoy the area. And then, of course, food trucks, because nothing's complete without food trucks, and they would enjoy the live music right there. So this would create principle number 4, which is create a walkable neighborhood with a smart growth. So this is what an ideal landscape could look like once you are finished with the Better Block. You'd have on the right-hand side a little parklet out in the street. They even have them coming out into the street to calm traffic. You'd have a bike lane, bike racks, people walking, first floor residential and second floor commercial. And that would be smart growth principle number 8, which is it's a variety of transportation choices with the bus lane, with the bike lane, cars and things like that, and walkable. This is another example of the day of. We'd have street art come out and do some streetscapes on the chalk paint that washes away when it's done, as well as first floor commercial, like I said, second floor residential, and on the left-hand side you can see the outline of where the street cafe would go. And this is principle number 5, which it fosters distinctive and attractive communities with a strong sense of place, because everybody will be around each other.
These are some examples of a completed Better Block project. It's the food truck alley and the sidewalk cafes, community park, the bike path, the kids zone, a complete street, community, the garden, sorry about that, and the pop-up shop. That's just an example of one of many pop-up shops that we would put in into many, well, a lot or many or several vacant areas in the area.
The Mayberry Better Block project will stimulate community and economic development, provide new housing opportunities, and increase the overall city's sustainability. The value and impact will be measurable, systemic, and intrinsic. The project is quintessential smart growth for the community, by the community. Realtors are dream makers. We are community leaders. By initiating a Better Block project, Mayberry Realtors will directly impact their community by spotlighting an area left behind and illuminating its potential. People will envision a new destination where they can visit local businesses, excited to be there, and be very proud to call home. Our grant proposal can serve as a model for associations throughout the U.S., and we respectfully ask for your approval. We hope the next time Ohio Realtors drive through a blighted area of town, they will know something great can happen here and just how to do it. Imagine the opportunities, lead change, be the dream maker. We're ready. Let's go paint the town and build a better block.